The laughter hit him first, sharp, loud, brutal. Ethan stood frozen in the middle of the small office, holding the broken wooden shelf he was asked to fix as a simple test. The nails were bent, the wood was split, and everyone's eyes were on him. Smartest boy in the village, right? One man whispered, another chuckled. He can solve big exams but can't even hold a hammer. Ethan's face burned red, his hands shook that he wanted to disappear. In that moment the boy who once believed his intelligence was enough finally felt the truth sink into his bones. He wasn't ready for the real world, that he wasn't skilled, that he wasn't consistent, that he was smart, but not successful, and this moment, this humiliation, would become the turning point of his life. Ethan had always been different. In his village, everyone knew him as the boy with the quick mind. The teachers praised him, neighbors admired him, and even elders bragged about him as though he were the village's greatest treasure. But praise is a strange thing. Give it too early, too easily, and it doesn't build confidence. It builds comfort. Ethan grew up believing life would be simple. He topped every exam without studying much. He remembered things quickly, understood lessons easily, and outperformed kids who worked twice as hard. His father, a humble carpenter with calloused hands and tired eyes, would always say, "Son, being smart is nice, but being consistent is better." Ethan would laugh. "Father, you spend hours making one stool. I can finish my homework in 20 minutes. When you have brains like mine, you don't need to work that hard." His father never argued. He simply nodded and continued sanding the wood, quietly teaching the very lesson Ethan didn't yet understand. Years passed. Ethan finished school with good grades. He thought colleges would chase him. He thought companies would compete for him. He thought the world would open doors simply because he was the smartest boy in the village. But life refuses to bow to arrogance. Interview after interview. He faced rejection after rejection. He had no skills, no experience, no real-world knowledge, only a title he had been given as a child, smart. And slowly, painfully, Ethan realized that no one cared how smart he believed he was. The world didn't praise potential, the world rewarded proof. The office test was supposed to be easy. Just fix a small wooden shelf, nothing complicated, something even a 12-year-old could do. But Ethan stood there with the hammer in his hand like it was a foreign object. His palms were sweaty, his grip awkward, his confidence cracking with every second that passed. He hit the nail once. It bent, hit again. It snapped, the board split. People murmured behind him. A supervisor whispered something and laughed. Then came the final blow. A young worker walked up, took the hammer from Ethan's shaking hands, and fixed the entire thing in less than 5 minutes. Everyone watched. Ethan wanted to disappear into the floor. "You're educated, right?" someone teased. "How can someone so smart not know basic things?" Their laughter echoed through the room. In that moment, Ethan wasn't the smartest boy in the village. He wasn't the pride of his father. He wasn't extraordinary. He was just a young man with nothing but a fragile ego. When he stepped outside the office, he felt the world blur around him. His breath trembled, his legs felt weak. All the compliments that once made him feel special suddenly felt like lies. He walked away from the building, past the market, past the busy streets, past the noise until he reached the silent edge of the village, the place where people went to think, to breathe, to escape. He sat on a stone, face buried in his hands, replaying the humiliation again and again. For the first time in his life, Ethan asked himself, "What am I, without the praise?" As Ethan sat there drowning in embarrassment, he noticed an old man sitting under a wide neem tree, feeding birds calmly, almost spiritually. The man looked peaceful, untouched by the chaos of the world. Something about his presence drew Ethan closer. He walked slowly, sat down beside him, and whispered, "Uncle, can I ask you something?" The old man looked at him with warm eyes, the kind that see straight into your soul. "Of course, son. Sit." Ethan didn't know where to begin, but the words came out in a shaky breath. "All my life, people told me I was smart. They said I'd achieve great things. They said my mind was special. But now, I feel useless. I feel stuck." The old man chuckled softly. Not mocking, understanding. "Ah. The classic trap of the clever mind." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" The old man reached into his bag and pulled out two objects, shiny metal spoon and a tiny seed. Tell me, he asked, which one is stronger? Ethan immediately pointed at the spoon. The spoon. The seed is weak. You can crush it easily. The old man nodded. And if I bury both in the soil and return after a year? Ethan hesitated. The seed. It will grow. Maybe into a plant. Maybe even a tree. He glanced at the spoon. But the spoon will stay the same. The old man smiled. The spoon is strong, but lifeless. The seed looks weak, but it carries growth. Then he looked directly into Ethan's eyes. You, my boy, have built a spoon like mine, strong, polished, impressive, but you forgot to plant it in the soil of effort, humility, and consistency. The words hit Ethan harder than the laughter in the office, for the first time that he saw himself clearly. Ethan stared at the seed in the old man's palm, but his mind raced back through time. He remembered every moment he mocked others for studying harder than him, every time he bragged about not needing practice, every time he avoided learning anything real because it felt beneath him that he saw the truth. He hadn't been smart, that he had been pampered by easy success. The old man continued, intelligence is like an engine, but discipline, consistency, and humility, those are the wheels. Without them, the engine makes noise, but doesn't move. Ethan felt something inside him crack, not pain. But awakening. He whispered, so intelligence isn't enough? The old man smiled again. Without effort, intelligence dies in the dark. Without failure, it never grows. Without humility, it becomes a cage. The wind rustled the leaves. Birds hopped around their feet, but Ethan felt like the entire world had stopped to let this moment sink into him. The old man handed him the seed. Plant this, he said softly. And plant yourself with it. Ethan held the seed tightly. He felt small but hopeful. For the first time in his life, he didn't want to be praised. He wanted to be useful. He wanted to grow. He walked home slowly, with a seed in his pocket and a lesson in his heart. Ethan returned home and found his father working late, shaping wood under the warm light of a lantern. His father looked up, surprised. Ethan? You're back early. The old Ethan would have lied, said the interview went great, pretended everything was fine, but not today. It didn't go well, Ethan said quietly. His father nodded. Failure teaches more than success ever will. After a moment, Ethan took a deep breath. Father, can I work with you? His father paused, the tools in his hands stilling. Carpentry is hard work, son. Slow work. Repetitive work. Ethan swallowed. I know. That's why I need it. His father smiled, a proud, gentle smile, and guided him to a wooden stool. Start here. The first few days were brutal. Ethan's hands blistered, his arms ached, his cuts were uneven, his measurements were wrong. He ruined more wood than he shaped, but every mistake taught him something, every failure forced him to improve. For the first time, Ethan didn't quit. He worked early mornings, late evenings. He practiced. He asked questions. He listened, and slowly. Effort became habit. Habit became discipline. Discipline became pride, not pride in being smart, but pride in becoming better. Weeks passed. Ethan's hands hardened, his strokes grew steady, his cuts became clean. He crafted small toys for children, fixed broken stools for neighbors, helped villagers with simple repairs. People noticed the change, not in his intelligence that had always been there, but in his attitude, his humility, his consistency. One day, a villager asked Ethan to build a custom bookshelf. Ethan took the measurements himself, cut the wood himself, shaped it with patience and precision. When he delivered it, the villager smiled. This is good work, Ethan. Very good. Those words meant more to Ethan than all the praise he had received as a boy, because this time he had earned it. That evening, Ethan planted the seed the old man had given him right outside his home. He watered it every morning, protected it, watched it slowly push through the soil. As the plant grew, Ethan grew with it. He realized something powerful. Success doesn't come from being smart. It comes from being willing to learn, willing to fail, willing to start small. Months later, Ethan visited the old man again. He found him in the same place, under the neem tree, feeding birds as always. When the old man saw Ethan's rough hands and confident posture, he smiled knowingly. You've planted the seed, haven't you? Ethan nodded. And myself with it. The old man chuckled softly. Good. The world needs fewer spoons. And more seeds. Ethan sat beside him. I used to think intelligence would save me. The old man replied, intelligence can save you, but only if you let it grow. Ethan looked at the birds pecking at the grains on the ground. He thought of the boy he used to be, proud, lazy, comfortable, and the man he was becoming, humble, consistent. Disciplined. He finally understood the truth, being smart is a gift, but what you do with that gift is what makes you successful. Ethan stood up, took a deep breath, and looked out over the fields. He wasn't the smartest boy in the village anymore. He wasn't the prodigy. He wasn't the little genius. He was something far better, a seed that chose to grow.